Welcome to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast. Was supposed to be Greg our 300th episode,
It was.
but it looks like it's going to be our 301st or second episode just because we had an emergency release. But we've brought together the original crew, the OGs. Greg, they're all ex-board members or current board members. And they were the ones that, were on the first podcast, Spencer Miles, and have been on the show with us from day one and the original sponsor. So before we get started, Greg, we got to say, you got to go to KeystoneTech.com. I hate to do it with Josh here. It's so gross. But it's KeystoneTech.com. That's KeystoneTech.com. Watch it, Josh. Light made easy.
Love it. Love it.
And of course, the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors, that's NALD.org, that's nailed.org. All of us are members. We've, just in the last, since, I have two of the people that basically saved Nailed, Spencer Miles and Cory Schneider, basically responsible for saving the organization. And so I'm with two ex-presidents, the secretary, treasurer, and an ex-board member of Nailed. That would be Josh Brown from Keystone, Brian Huff from Adventure Lighting, Spencer Miles from Pacific Lamp and Supply, and Cory Schneider from Lighting Unlimited. Greg, take it from here.
You know what? Before we take it anywhere, we got to talk a little more about Keystone. This is your ad, Josh.
Oh, I forgot.
Have you heard about this new optic swap? You know anything about
Better
that,
believe
Josh?
it.
I hope
It
Josh
is.
knows about this.
It is changing the game on outdoor lighting, Greg. You know it.
Okay.
Why don't you take it away?
Well, there are different optics in area lights, guys. I don't know if you all know that, but you should if you've taken the Nailed LS1 course. There's a Type 3, Type 4, Type 5 distributions, right? There's other ones too, but those are the main ones. And Keystone's new area lights actually have the ability to change the optic on the fixture. Built right into the fixture, right into the box. You've got it all. So you can slide in the new optic if you want a Type 3, if you want a Type 4, any of that stuff. Anything I'm missing there,
and
Josh?
a photocell.
And color
Yeah, no,
change.
I mean, we are, for distributors, pretty much introducing a solution that allows them to not stock as much, have it all in the box, which helps them, but at the same time also helps the contractors because, as you guys know, there's a lot of times when lighting jobs or area lights are not done the way that they should be. They might just put distribution 5 all throughout a parking lot because they don't know any differently. Here, hopefully, we're actually helping illuminate the parking lots a little bit better where you use the right distribution in the right applications and you don't have to think about it because it's in the box and you can change out the optics within seconds. So hoping to it's really a win-win for distributors and contractors and users to change the game and make it just a better place.
There you go.
I like the idea that there's actually parts on a fixture you can change. Like, I mean, never mind. I know we don't want to get into maybe we will talk about sustainability actually, but I mean, I like that return to, this light fixture can be fixed or not fixed, but like something can be done to it without having to replace the whole thing. You know what I mean? Somebody makes a mistake, something changes. You can do something to the fixture. You don't have to rip the whole thing out. Change the optic, and now you got a wider distribution. It's wonderful. So, thank you for doing that, the Keystone Technologies, Greg. And now back over to you again. We're shutting Josh down. That's it. Let's go.
Oh, that's all. Well, that's
You
all
mean I
had
can
for
hang
this show.
Bye,
I
Josh.
can get off now? Fantastic. See you guys later.
Well, this is kind of the scrub roundtable format. I don't have any prepared questions, so it's just more of a discussion. I thought it was interesting. We were together last week, a few of us, and I saw some pictures from when we started this podcast. I think, Brian, you were on, Spencer, you were on, Cory and Josh were skipped out on that, but it was not very far after. What do you guys remember about it? It's kind of interesting to just talk the history of Get a Grip from your side a little bit.
So I'd be happy to start. So I remember the Michael coming up with this idea and talking about putting together a podcast, and we discussed. I think it was in San Antonio, and this would have been in like 2016, something like that. Late 2015, early 2016, and we took a trip, this whole crew, to San Juan, Puerto Rico, and Michael. Well, a couple people didn't show up because there was a Zika virus. And they were that was a whole other thing. But Michael, he rolls into his room with a podcasting setup that was otherworldly. I mean, there was 4 or 5 microphones, cords everywhere. It was we knew it was on at that point.
Spencer, what do you remember about it?
I vividly remember being in the hotel room in San Antonio, and you bringing up the idea. And at the time, I was just getting into podcasts myself, right, in my personal life, listening to things. And remember pulling up the podcast, remember what it was, Google Play or whatever, and searching for lighting podcasts. And I think we found one, if I recall. And it had maybe 2 episodes. It had died. It wasn't a recurring thing. And I think at that moment, it kind of hit me that you were onto something. That was a great idea. The industry needed it. And then, we, like Brian said, then we went to San Juan and saw your very first setup in that room, where I don't think we were ever able to release that one.
No.
But
hey, and this one's 50-50 too, buddy. You watch it, okay?
there might have been some bottles and
Yeah.
some words said and vendors called out. But
For sure.
I remember thinking you were the right person, because there was nobody else, I think, that I knew within our industry at that point to really have the passion to take this thing and take it where it's, we're 300 episodes later. That's crazy to think about that. So kudos to you guys.
Thank you.
Cory, Josh, any opinions on that? Kind of, you were involved in it, not really there, but
Yeah, I remember we were in San Antonio, and Colgan was jumping up on the bed, saying, "I'm coming for Rogan. I'm coming for Rogan. I'm going to take Rogan down." And then I think he's getting a meeting with the president at some point. I think you're going to get a meeting with the president, and you're going to tell him what he's going to do.
Yeah,
that's right.
I think I remember that. You're going to tell the president how to do lighting, and I think you're on your way, actually. So, congrats.
Well, I think I'll go ahead, Josh. What do you got?
I would just add to what Spencer said. It's not easy to keep a crowd captivated for 300 episodes. And I think that's a testament to the two of you that have taken lighting, to a lot more than just, are we illuminating a space? Which obviously there's a lot more to it than just that. And, it's pretty amazing how much you guys are educating the world and doing it with a little bit of spunk and energy and certainly fun that keep everyone, captivated. So congratulations to you guys. Honestly, it's quite an achievement to get 300 podcasts. And, from a Keystone standpoint, we're happy to be along for the ride.
And I'll just chime in here, Mike, because again, they brought it up. It was your idea. I'm not a podcast person. I never considered myself one. This whole thing is just an extension of really us hanging out, nailed people hanging out, getting together and having discussions. And it was something necessary at the time. LEDs were just starting to come around. Everybody's like, what the hell's happening? So we had to get a grip. I think, Mike, you always said that. Get a grip on this or whatever. And it's like, find time to do it. So thanks to you guys as well. It's not all a big thank you show, but at least to start it off for the 300th, we should say that, because you guys were a big part of that. You still are. And the discussions we have are just like the discussions Mike and I have with other people, right? It's just an extension of them.
We always said from day one, like, I don't know about in San Juan. A lot of things were said, but it wasn't this. But from like the beginning, we always felt like we had colleagues who didn't have podcasts, that didn't do podcasts, rather than listeners or something like that. It's always been for Greg and I to talk about we have listeners. It's kind of, it doesn't feel like that to me. It feels like, for me, especially from the beginning, Greg, that it was just that the industry needed this, and somehow we had to do it, and it took a lot of time. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of energy. Like I don't think a lot of people realize the amount, how difficult it is to produce a podcast. And I'm not patting myself on the back here, okay? But what I'm saying is how difficult it is to produce quality content on a regular basis over and over and over again. And, it's a real testament to the producer, Scott Griffin, who Scott was started with me around episode number 5. Okay, and then he would, every time there was an emergency, Scott Griffin would show up. Hey, Scott, get down here. We can't record. We can't do something. So there's Scott Griffin. There's also Scott Wachter, who now has moved on to the Lighting Industry News Brief. And there's Lydia, and there's Aaron in the Nailed Office. And there's a real team. And a lot of people see Greg and I on the front. But, behind us is a real strong team of people that have really helped us. So my hat goes off to all the people behind the camera and all the people on the Nailed board that supported us, and even Christian Amato, CMA, even Christian Amato, you know what I mean, is really a key piece in making this happen. And it's just been an honor for me on the other side, and I'm sure I speak for Greg when I say this, that just to be able to speak to all the people in the industry, all the researchers and all that. And so, it's great to celebrate the 300th episode. Now, can we move on?
Now we can move on. Let's
Good.
move on after that 11-minute introduction.
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So, okay, I want to throw this on the table, and we're going to start with Brian because it was your baby. The sustainability piece. Is the industry, should it go in the direction where it's like, no, you know what, we have to go back to tube shapes? Is it, Brian, is it something where they're going to standardize the drivers and the mechanical boards? I mean, your committee came out with a really powerful letter that's been quoted, and you're getting all sorts of action ever since Nailed put it out. What are your thoughts on sustainability? Are we going to go back to bulb shapes, or are we going to agree on form factors, or what's going to happen?
So I think there's a little bit of a demand for it. I think before I get into the sustainability part of it, there's some really cool things that happen with light fixtures, whether they're residential or really high-end architectural stuff that you just can't do with a replaceable light bulb. And I understand that. The issue that I think our committee identified is that for basic stuff that's going in a 2x4 troffer, a 2x2 troffer ceiling stuff, your track lighting, your stuff going in your can lights in your office or your home, that kind of stuff without any replaceable parts is a huge waste to the environment, to the processes of moving it around the country and around the world. And I think the big thing that I came into it thinking about, or into this discussion thinking about, was how we have an awful lot of customers come in looking now for drivers on these LED panels that, if you can find the proper driver, it needs to be programmed somewhere. And we have gotten into doing a little bit of that, but that's not a perfect solution for anything either. It's been for 30, 40, 50 years. I mean, Michael, you would probably know better. You got a 2-lamp, 3-lamp, 4-lamp ballast, 1 lamp to less extent. But anyway, what you need to fix your fixture. And now, it's a mess. To throw away, 80, 60, whatever you guys are paying for these fixtures, $200 fixture, and just put in a new one, it's just not sustainable.
And not only that, though, but Spencer, I think a lot of people, they underestimate the unproductive use of labor. Like driving around looking for a damn driver, or having to hire an electrician, Spencer Miles, to change a light bulb. Like all that is unproductive use of our labor.
It absolutely is. But Brian said something that kind of hits with me. Right now in our state, we have a bill to ban all mercury lighting. A couple exceptions in there, but no exceptions for general lighting. They're not doing it based on energy. They're not doing it based on fluorescence. They're basing the entire ban on environmental. And Brian mentioned that word, environmental. So when I read it, watched the hearings, watched our state legislatures talk about it, it kind of struck me as, do they understand the environmental impact of what they're doing? Which obviously they don't. They don't have, not a single person on their panel was from the lighting industry. Not one. The only people who were con on the idea or the bill were from the National Association of Retailers, who said it's not fair for Lowe's or Home Depot because they got to stock 2 SKUs now because of different states. And I said, why, in my brain, right? Why aren't they coming to anybody in the lighting industry and saying, can you tell us the cons of this? Well, we want to do this. It makes sense. It's a good idea. Let's get rid of mercury. Mercury's bad. We all know that. But what is the flip side to that? And nobody has touched on that in our industry. What we've done is we've taken that troffer that was in a building for 50 to 60 years. It was T12. We retrofitted it down to T8. We retrofitted it to LED. We retrofitted it to Type C LED, right? We can keep that housing in that hole for 50,
You
60 years.
cut a new lens if you need to.
Right? You get new lenses, you get a new reflector, we can clean them. We're now selling product that we will replace every 5 to 10 years, which as a lighting sales guy, I kind of appreciate. Thank you. You've given me a position in my market to continue to sell every 5 years.
There's two hats. There's two hats,
Yes.
okay? But like what we're forgetting, Cory, is the unproductive use of warehouse space and the unproductive use of labor to replace these fixtures every 5 years and to have skids full of fixtures on racks filling warehouses around the country because you need new fixtures every time, not lamps. Cory, what are your thoughts on the sustainability piece?
I think it's a big problem. I mean, the industry is coming out with some interesting products that are sustainable, like 3D printed fixtures. I think Cooper and somebody else, or I don't know if we're saying names, but I think they're coming out with 3D printed reusable plastic fixtures that you could just print a fixture. So eventually, maybe they could, I could have a printer in my office and print out a new fixture for somebody using recyclable materials. I mean, that could be something interesting. So I think I lost everybody.
No, we hear you.
Okay.
And then over to Josh. From the manufacturer perspective, you're hearing distributors, people that sell light bulbs every day to the end user. That's what we do, and we're telling the industry that this mercury ban, this fixture replacement, this stuff is a really bad idea, and we're set to make tons of money on it. But we're still saying it's a bad idea. Why are people not listening, Josh?
Because it doesn't impact them yet, in my opinion. I think we are now starting to see, as Brian touched on, the contractors or the end users that a flat panel LED driver has gone bad and they don't have a solution. So now they are starting to see the impacts of that. I think in the beginning, in particular, when it came to flat panels, and even still today, I mean, I think that's as good of an example as it gets. I mean, it's the lowest cost alternative for a 2x4 troffer, and as instead of using tubes per se, and they're not thinking about the replacement side of it. They're just looking potentially at the lowest cost option. But we are starting to see that shift towards those types of products that were installed 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago fail, and it's starting to have an impact. And unfortunately, that might be what it takes for people to realize they want to install a product with a replaceable driver that they can get a driver replacement for down the road to help shift some of that. And I think what you're getting at, or I mean, how I view the world, there's absolutely value in installing products that have a replaceable driver, and having access to that will undoubtedly have a large impact on the overall environmental impact of installing new LED lighting.
Brian's letter also talked about the mechanical form factors of the LED arrays in the fixtures. If I remember correctly, that was like the second or third paragraph of the point. But also, Greg, this idea that we're going to get rid of mercury, but we're not going to have any more garbage. Like, the first thing you want to do with the environment, Greg, is to eliminate the creation of garbage as much as possible. Right? Like, let's eliminate, like, whatever the metric is, tons of this, right? Garbage into landfill or whatever. And this whole mercury thing that Spencer brought up, okay? The whole mercury thing, Greg, and you know I talk about it a lot. We know where to send mercury-containing bulbs. We have end destinations. All of these LED fixtures, Greg, are going to end up in the landfill.
Right, and that's where they are. And I think I mentioned you guys last week. I've spent more money on dumpsters in the last year than ever before. You know, like we're ripping stuff down, we're putting new ones in, and at the end of the day, we all want a sale, guys, right? And if the customer wants fixtures, we're going to sell them fixtures. But oftentimes we're forced to do that, and that's the part that's hard. Is what's the right thing, and what's the thing that actually happens is not always, usually not the same in lighting. We've got the rebates that are heavily geared towards going fixture. They give you a lot more for it, and that's what we're doing. So yeah, we're causing a big problem. From your guys' standpoint, and we'll go around the table again, but are you always talking to the customer about that? Or are you just saying, what do you want? How do you guys approach it, on a sale? Brian, if you want to start it off, from
Well, I
purpose
think the
built
question
or replaceable.
the question comes up at the point of sale of like, so what do we do when this fixture dies? And
Mm-hmm.
If we're keeping it at a area light or a trough or whatever that is, it's like, yeah, sorry, you got to throw it away and buy a new one. And what do you tell somebody other than that? And
Right.
if we might be able to find a driver that works, great, but then the array doesn't work on it. Okay, well, we can't replace that either, so throw it away and replace it. Now, what is that going to look like once a new one's in there? Are you going to have to replace all the other ones too because you've got a little bit of deterioration or the lens isn't the same color, the trim doesn't work. There's just an awful lot of problems that come out of not being able to replace a fixture, and it's the most common type of fixture in offices anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Spencer, you got an opinion on that?
I think it varies by your customer, right? If you have a property manager that's running a 30-floor skyscraper, they understand, right? They have budgets. So for those guys, we're just telling them, hey, you used to have a relamp budget, right? We all used to do that in the day. Have you're going to do spot replacements on your fluorescents, but every 2 to 3 years, let's do a complete relamp of your facility, and that was in their budget. I think today you set up their budgets every 5 years for the complete rehaul, right? Or let's do 10 floors this year. Next year we're going to do 10 floors. So as a distributor, if we can set that up, that's
Beautiful.
great, right?
What a great business.
Sales every year, baby, right? The problem is that's probably 5% of the sockets out there are people who actually care about it and are putting it into budgets. The rest don't. Take a multi.
Well, let me ask you that. Let me transition over to Cory with this piece. Wouldn't they amortize the life of a light fixture over 25 years, like from an accounting perspective? So, like, if they're making that capital investment, the accountant's going to look at that. Oh, you just changed all the lighting in the building for $4 million. Okay, so we're going to amortize that over 25 years, because in the accounting cycle, real property is depreciated over the course of 25 years or 20 years or maybe 15. But it ain't 5 years, guys. You know what I'm saying? It's not 5 years, but you're looking at a seriously hardcore application. You're looking at a 5 to 7 year life, Cory Schneider, on a light fixture.
Yeah, a lot of them are doing that EPACT 179D is what you're talking about. I think that advanced depreciation, where they basically take it and depreciate it over the 25-year span. But yeah, no, the stuff is not going to last more than 5 to 7 years, and they're going to have to throw it out and get something new and create trash. So it's a big problem. I don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah,
we're going to get rich. We're going to get rich. That's for sure.
Never mind the cost of the actual fixtures. That's a big investment up front.
Earth is going to have a problem with all this extra trash.
Yeah.
And one thing.
Let me ask you guys this though.
Oh, go ahead.
Remember the nailed convention, probably 2016, 17, somewhere in that time frame. Lighting as a service was a big thing. We had how many people talk about lighting as a service? I think that honestly makes a comeback.
Yep.
Because once somebody's been through it and been like, let's say I paid $100,000 last 5 years ago. You want me to spend it again? That's where we start to become the printer world, where we're leasing, because not one of us owns a printer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the market will accept that eventually, and we'll start selling on that.
And Josh, what I was going to say, and it ties into this too, is you look at Keystone, for example. You guys got into the LED market by doing replaceable components for what's already out there. Other people came into the LED market and with purpose-built fixtures right off the bat. Flat panel was their first thing. Do you remember what was your first LED?
So we started with LED drivers, and then interestingly enough, our first LED integrated product was a ballast bypass LED tube.
Yeah.
So some people would have said we were crazy as a ballast manufacturer for 60-some years. Our first LED product was going to obsolete everything we'd previously done.
And I remember when that happened, and I was telling the big guys that you need to do this. They said, we're never going to do that, and that's why Keystone's where it's at today, is because they took it. But are you guys seeing more demand for fixtures now or replaceable? Is tube still a lot higher sales, or I know volume wise it will be, but dollar wise fixtures, I'm sure, right?
Without getting into exact details here, Greg, but
Yeah. Well, I'm just talking.
How much did you sell last year?
You represent all the manufacturers in lighting. Like Keystone is a typical lighting manufacturer now. So what are you guys seeing? Is it a lot more fixtures, a lot more
yeah,
tubes, or
there's absolutely a trend towards fixtures, and
Yeah.
that the dedicated, should it be tubes or even HID LED, there's not as much emphasis on that as maybe there was 5-10 years ago, but a lot of it depends on the application. I mean, and who is selling. I mean, I think I pose the question to you when you're talking to customers. I mean, a lot of your focus over the past 5 years was probably retrofit and installing tubes. Are you transitioning more to now retrofit kits that look a little bit better but still have that replaceability, or are you still giving customers the options? Um, Overall, in theory, you should be giving good, better, best no matter what, right? I mean, tubes still present a very, very attractive ROI in a lot of cases, but customers just might not want that appearance.
But
from my standpoint,
the
it's always
government
given
changes
them.
that though.
Yeah.
Think about codes. In my area, if you retrofit, we have to daylight. So tubes are completely out of the question from the minute the customer wants to upgrade. So to daylight zones and to do occupancy and all that, you're immediately going to fixtures. So you see a decline in tube sales, right?
Are these codes really ever enforceable? I mean, I know your Seattle
Yes.
market is. Iowa, Minnesota, Arizona, Canada's a whole different animal. I've never felt the effect of being enforced by any of these codes that the West Coast does. You guys ever feel the effect? Never.
Other than
We
the
have
emergency lighting stuff, but no.
We have dark sky in Arizona. It gets enforced pretty
Okay.
heavily.
All right.
So
That's interesting. So there's light bulb police in Arizona and Washington.
Seattle.
You're under. Where's the guy with that
boy.
mercury tube? You got those mercury tubes?
Oh boy.
Can I apply for that?
Yeah.
No, I think it's not that there's police; it's the contract. Or if you're doing a TI, for instance, right? TI, they have to meet code just to get their permit. So that's going to be any TI is going to be fixtures always. But if you're going to pull a permit and you're changing that driver, you have to now meet the code of daylighting. So in most instances, you cannot use tubes. I mean, we're doing it, yes, but and I think we're on NEC 21 up here. We're pretty progressive on that fact. But you unless some manufacturer like Josh comes out with a tube that starts daylighting and creating his own zones and secondary zones and aux sensing and NLC tied in controls in a tube, you should make that, Josh. That'd be awesome, by the way. This is what we're gonna be doing fixtures.
Well, not that I'm going to plug here, but there are companies out there that might rhyme or sound something like Keystone that make a Type B 0 to 10 volt dimming tube with a wireless control platform that would give you those options.
But okay, so I just
or
want to.
Type C for that matter.
I want to step back because I hear what Spencer is saying about the codes sort of having these perverse effects downstream that they have no idea about because they never talked to anybody that sold a light bulb in their life. How many times, Greg, have we been to a lighting convention and we're standing at the back of the room, going back 2005, 6, something like that, standing at the back of Light Fair saying, Greg, I don't think that guy on stage there talking has ever sold a light bulb to anyone in his life.
90% of the time. Yeah. Right.
Like even the leaders in the lighting industry don't know anything about lighting and how it actually works in the field. And so, Greg, I mean, this is what Get a Grip on Lighting is about the amplification of this kind of knowledge right here. And I hate to go back to what Get a Grip on Lighting is about, but this is why we have to talk to the president, Cory, because lighting is so important. And if you see what's happening in the research world with near infrared lighting, with queuing, with indoor skylighting that they have now that looks just like a skylight and how it's proven to work to improve people's moods. Lighting is set to be the most innovative and exciting industry in the entire world. Like that's where we're headed, Greg. And they need to hear the voices of people that are on the front lines, Greg. I could go on and on and on about this, but this what I've learned already in the last 30 minutes is ridiculous. Greg, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
SAS, you're LA, lighting as a service. Spencer's 100% correct about that. That you're going to see the rise of legitimately customer need for that. Save me, Greg. I'm drowning.
Well, this kind of to tie all this together too is the education piece, is how you learn about this. So obviously we spouted about get a grip and how important that is, but there's other avenues. So how are you guys teaching your employees now? Okay, I'll start off by LS1 from Nailed is great. Everybody does that. How else are you guys training your people? Cory, why don't you start off, because you're always in hiring new people.
Yeah, we're doing the LS1. Yeah, thank you. I actually just got 4 of them today from you, Greg. Thanks.
Oh yeah.
No, so we do the LS1. We also send them to the factories. So we'll send them to Diode, Keystone. Some of these guys on the podcast. What else do we do? Yeah, there's online trainings. We'll do LS Evolve, LS2. Take them to shows. So there's plenty of different ways that we train them. So out in the field.
Yeah. Spencer, you got any other ideas on how to do that?
No, we're doing obviously the LS Evolve, all that. The vendors, right? You got to use your good vendors. Get them to get your people back to their facilities to train. Controls, as much control training as you can possibly give your employee. Get up to them online. Obviously, if you're in a buying group like we are, use your buying group to train. And then the one that is kind of free and easy is your reps are usually doing training quarterly in your market, is to send them to those. They're obviously biased and one-sided trainings, but they're good still to send your employees to get just continually learning. That's about all we got.
Yeah. Before we get to the manufacturer, Brian, anything to add on to that?
Yeah, just relying on your vendor reps to, go on calls with people, and I like the idea of pointing out real life situations and working through a problem.
Yeah. All right, Josh, how
We
about for the
sent a guy to that
manufacturer?
we sent a guy to that Mark Jewell. Seems like he did a good training too. So.
Yeah, I mean, I would say this is undoubtedly, a question that always comes up, and there's continually a need for one. But I'll say, I mean, LS1 is something that's mandatory within any new hire that, on the sales team within Keystone. They must take that in order to get from like 0 to 60 up on lighting. But outside of that, a lot of it is, in my mind, just engaging in different ways that is outside of a textbook, or even an online course for that matter. But, it's getting in front of people, engaging training in different ways, and actually having them touch and feel the products. I think when it comes to lighting in particular, people learn a lot better when they see the products, the applications that they're actually in. So a lot of you guys know, I mean, we have built, a lighting training space in our headquarters here. Some of you guys on the call here have been here with your team. We also have, an array of Keystone Live on tour, lighting showrooms that actually go to visit customers. And obviously part of that is to help sell, but most importantly, honestly, is it's a fantastic training tool to help employees understand and see and touch and feel. And then on top of that, we have also, we just launched more internally. We're soon going to be launching it externally, but our own learning management system, which is pretty much an online learning course for our internal employees to learn the ins and outs of our products.
We're coming up on 34 minutes here, so I want a couple other issues I want to table. The dark sky restoring darkness piece. So Cory mentioned that Arizona and Flagstaff probably particularly is very aggressive in enforcing this. I think this is the single largest opportunity for the lighting industry. And I think it's the best place to focus all of our control attention on. Like lighting controls should be entirely geared for outdoors, and not indoors. like I'm talking about the Bluetooth stuff or whatever, you want to connect it any way you want. Spencer, you're on the West Coast with the hippies. Are they going to go dark sky? Because if it's going to happen out west first, if any happens anywhere, are they going dark sky? And is the darkness going to spread across America?
I have only ran into it one time in my 23-year career, and that was near the airport. Obviously, we can't have spill when the planes are landing and taking off. So I guess the answer would be no. Haven't seen it really anywhere. You'll occasionally, if you get out into a rural area, somebody will request it because they don't want, spill into the sky. But no, not like, I think we're so heavily focused on controls, just that thing is overlooked.
See, I think it's something that I don't know, Greg. Are you seeing it in Minnesota? Any movement on the dark sky issue? Or are you starting to see areas? Airports, they do it because the pilots get glare in their eyes when they're landing. What about you in Minnesota, Greg? I know I probably should talk to you more about this, but what's the feeling there?
I would say that there's been talk about it, but I haven't seen any action. So I mean, we have certain areas that they talk about doing it, but has there been anything done? No. And I've ran into it one time where one small city had an ordinance and asked for it. The dark sky compliant. That was it. One time. So not quite yet. But Cory,
Brian? Oh, Cory.
Yeah, Brian. Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what Cory has to say about it because it sounds like it's a lot more in Arizona. But no, I mean, other than lights spilling into neighbors onto streets to avoid glare, it's not something that's come up here. I'd be kind of interested to hear like what exactly how are you defining this other than the dark sky sticker on the spec sheet of a fixture? What exactly are we looking for here, Mike?
So in Arizona, I mean, there's the Kitt Peak Observatory in Flagstaff. So it's a big telescope that looks at in the outer space, and everything around that has to be low pressure sodium color. So it's like 222 or whatever nanometers. And we've had contractors that have gone up there and done jobs, and people come out and they got to pull a permit, and the guy accidentally ordered all the material, and it was 3,000 Kelvin his fixtures. He had $150,000 of material, and he had to return it all because it wasn't the narrowband amber spectrum that the city of Flagstaff wanted. So it's a real thing out in Arizona, just around especially Flagstaff, Prescott, the northern part of Arizona, just because that's where all the observatories are, where they check out the stars, and they put basically a filter on the telescope to filter out that spectrum.
Right. And
so are we talking about sorry, Michael, are we talking about the color, or is it more like where the light is focused?
Both. So the light has to be the narrowband amber, and it has to be pointed down.
So to answer your question, I mean, right now in Arizona, the astronomers are in charge. Okay.
Correct.
But the movement is growing away from astronomy and is moving towards animal and wildlife health and ecosystems and human health and circadian, and also just the beauty of our heritage of being able to see the stars. So you have human beings, like I've seen the Milky Way many times in my life. Have you ever seen the Milky Way, Brian?
I guess I don't know. I don't
right,
know
Spencer,
if I look for it.
Spencer, have you ever seen the Milky Way?
Every grocery store. Check out aisle.
How about you, Cory? Cory, you ever seen the Milky Way?
I've seen it before, yeah.
Yeah? And what about you, Josh?
I have.
Right. How many times in your life, Josh? Once?
Couple times.
Right.
Couple times. Yeah, not many.
Right.
For sure.
Right. So so all of our ancestors, Brian, would have been staring at stars all the time, and they would have been like when they were burning a lamb to sacrifice to God, they were sending the smoke up to the stars. Okay, that's what they were doing, right? And so there's an integrated part of starlight into our evolution that we now have an absence of, and we're unaware of. And so, I guarantee you that has an effect, a major effect upon human health and well-being. And so that is where the change has to go away from the astronomers and into these areas over here for us to start having traction on the issue. The biggest barrier I see everywhere is with the lawsuits. When people reduce the light, are you going to see, my son was hit by a car at this because somebody put the dark sky lighting in. I think that's our biggest concern, Greg. I don't know if you want to push this topic on. We're already at 40 minutes. If you have anything else you want to cover, or we could keep going on this dark sky piece. But, there's issues there. There's legal issues.
I think Brian actually hit it on the head. And I don't know if you guys saw, there's an article recently about a town in New Jersey that is mandating that lighting not spill into their neighbors' yards. And that was kind of the first time that I'd seen that. I don't disagree with anything you're saying, Michael. I just don't know that that's enough to implement the kind of change that you're talking about to be meaningful. The people have spoken. They prefer 5K. It appears brighter.
Sure.
When given the option, they'll install 5K unless, in my opinion, it's mandated.
We can't possibly be that stupid as a species, Josh. Like, we can't possibly be that stupid. Really? Like, do we really have to listen to the people and their stupid wanting of 5,000K? The people can shut up. Okay? Like, you're so stupid. 5,000K. This is so dumb. Like, and the shining light all over the place, blasting it all over the place and glare in people's eyes. Like, when I want to see the first case, Josh, when somebody actually accuses the extra lighting of causing the accident because of the glare in the person's eyes. You understand?
Well, that's what's going to take.
Well, what happens is instead you have like these glare bombs. You're going into a tunnel. You're coming out of a tunnel on the other side. You can't see shit because the tunnel was so damn bright. It takes the 85-year-old driver's eyes 3 minutes to readjust. Maybe seriously. Like, it might take the guy 30 seconds or 40 seconds before his eyes adjust from the glare. And the older you get, the worse it gets. And if there's an accident, they'll still say there's not enough light. Even after the reason for the accident was the glare from the lighting. They'll still say, let's add more lights, add more lights. We can't be this stupid, can we? Really?
There's no financial incentive, so nobody's going to do any of this stuff.
There's a huge financial incentive for us, which is why NAILD has started the Lighting and Darkness Research Foundation, just so you know, guys. Might as well come out right now, Greg. Brian's on the board of directors. Brian's on the board of directors of the Lighting and Darkness Research Foundation, a 501c3. Okay, a 501c3. That means it will be able to issue charitable receipts. Greg, how far away are we? 2 weeks? 3 weeks from having that live?
Yeah, by the time this goes out, maybe a week. So real close though.
Right, and so we're going to start the Lighting and Darkness Research Foundation. We're going to start taking down some of these axioms. Like more light equals more safety. What a load of crap. That's not true. Nobody ever proved that. That's not true. And not only is it not true, the opposite might be true. The opposite might be true. Right? That sometimes light causes less safety. In fact, sometimes light...
You got to get every jurisdiction, every state, every federal, you got to go to every person and change the code then. And
it's the issue of the century. It is the issue of the century. Okay? And you know how it is? I'm telling you, this is a 100-year issue to solve this problem. Okay? But I'm going to tell you right now. Remember I told you I wanted to meet the President of the United States to talk about lighting? It's over. New goal. Okay? New goal.
He wouldn't hear you anyway.
Yeah. Okay? Greta Thunberg's going down. She's going down. We're taking her out. Okay? Greta's done.
Oh, careful.
You going after Greta now?
We're done, Greta. You know what? I'm sick of your climate change nonsense. All you guys do is scream and cry about how the Earth is going to melt into the sun, and then when you say, "Well, what are you going to do about it?" You're like, "We're going to save more money with LED lights and with incentive programs and stupid crap like that." The reality is the darkness restoration or the dark skies. It should be called darkness restoration. Dark skies is the wrong word. Okay, that's not the correct description. It's darkness restoration and preservation is the correct description. But the dark skies is the number one environmental issue humans face. Period. End of the story. Okay, and if someone comes along to me and says, no, plastics in the ocean, no, climate change, carbon emissions, I'm going to say, you know what? Fine, we'll contribute to your carbon emission reduction by doing dark sky lighting for you. That's what that's the number one thing the world can do to reduce carbon emissions right now is restore darkness. Okay, so if you're actually serious, Greta, get over here and give us money. We want some of your damn climate change money. Okay? Donate it to the Lighting and Darkness Research Foundation because we are going to, as an organization with the help of NAILD members, we are going to advance these issues. We're coming for your money, Greta. We're coming for it, and we're going to take it. We're going to take all that climate change money, and we're going to put it to good work in the lighting industry, doing research on how we can reduce energy efficiency, we can improve energy efficiency, and restore wildlife and circadian rhythm. Greg, Eric, we're going to do it. I'm so hyped.
Can you get up on your table and jump? That's the only
Oh man, I'm ready to jump naked in my on the bed again, Cory. I'm so excited. No, but seriously, think about how many light fixtures we're going to sell. Think about how many. We got video. Do you have a file on me, Brian Huff?
Yeah. I remember, so to break away from this conversation, when we were talking prior to having a podcast, you had no Facebooks, you had like no phones, you wanted a dumb phone because I don't want to get into it all.
Yeah,
but
sure.
like I was always taking pictures on the sides. I've got a pretty good collection.
Oh man. Brian Huff. We'll
have to embed that into the show somehow, Scott. We'll get you in.
Oh man, the slideshow. It's going to be like a disaster. Greg, coming up on an hour here, 46 minutes.
Let's close out final thoughts around the table again. Like, let's there's good and bad to lighting, but what excites us right now about lighting? Let's go around. Spencer, you started off. You excited us the most so far with your lighting as a service. Is that it?
I mean, lighting's always exciting, right? It's been exciting for the last 15 years. I think the main takeaway that I still every day struggle with is that when mandates and government regulation get involved in our industry, we need lighting people involved, or at least at the table. At least ask our opinions. Ask us, hey, what do you see? When there's bills that are presented, this is going to go state by state eventually, right? We're just a little ahead of some other people. When that happens, call and it's in Iowa. Call Brian, have him at the table at the legislation to say, here's why not. We need people helping write these codes and regulation mandates. And I have half my warehouse that's going to be obsolete in 2 years. How do I get rid of it? These are things they need to hear from the lighting. That's up to you, Cory.
Cory will buy them.
Anything on sale, he's got it.
Is that what excites you? Stuff that's on sale?
I just think, though, as we evolve in our industry, they need people who have been involved in the industry to help guide it instead of, as you say, the Gretas of the world, right? Although I will warn you, Michael, the last person who tried to go after her was arrested in Romanian jail, so be careful. That did happen.
I just want to wet my beak a little bit, Greta. Just wet my beak. Just the lighting and darkness lighting industry wants just a little tiny little taste, okay? Just to do some real work for a change, okay? There. They changed it.
There you go.
How about you, Cory?
No, I'm excited. There's going to be, there's a need for us for the next 20 years. I mean, this is so complicated. Lighting's become so complicated. There is a need for people that have knowledge of, the industry and what's going on and where to find stuff, how to find stuff. And so, we're going to be around. So that's the exciting part, I guess, to me.
Yeah. Brian?
Yeah, I'm excited, mainly this podcast nailed the vendors and distributors that are involved that, hopefully now our voice is united and more people hear about it and therefore, get a seat at the table and talk through these issues and, help the world fall in line and get some of that Greta money.
How about you, Josh?
That's wild.
I'm excited that we're still a ton of light that has not been converted to LED. I mean, we are nowhere near full penetration. There's still a lot of impact that can be had. A lot of the ideas, honestly, that everybody's talking about can be implemented in one way, shape, or form. And I think also controls are going to help people do a lot of things that they could never do before. And light is going to be a lot more interesting. I think even to Michael's point, the impact that it can have on people's well-being and in turn how they act and their personalities is exciting. There's still a lot of work to be done there, but we are nowhere near market penetration. And it's still about learn the products, continually learn the products because it's continually changing. And if you do that, you'll have fun and you'll continue to go out there and sell and win. And that's what we're all here to do, right?
That's right. And from my standpoint, you know, we used to call this show the Scrub Roundtable as a joke. We're not really scrubs. What I am excited about is that the actual scrubs and lighting are leaving. We don't need them anymore. They've been gone. You know, they started in 2015. They wrote it for a while. Now they're leaving because it's a lot more difficult. It's not as easy as it was in the past. They screwed up a lot of things. We're here to fix it, make it right. Mike, close us out.
I screwed up a lot of things too. I'll be the first one to raise my hand. I'm not pointing at anybody else. I mean, this was new to everybody. Okay, and so the people that are still maybe left are the ones with a little bit younger, deeper roots in the industry. You're starting to see a bit of an exodus. But I would say the most important thing when you right now is everybody take a deep breath, calm down. There's no rush. We've had mercury lamps for 100 years. Okay, they don't need to be gone tomorrow. All right, 10 years is a long time when you're talking about critical infrastructure. Okay, 10 years is a long time. And so there's this rush to make laws or to change stuff or whatever. And I think that the industry needs to slow down. I think we need to slow down, not on the research side, but on sort of this on the rebate side. Like, I want to bring back the engineered rebate. Okay, enough with these lists of products that qualify. I hate to do this to you, Josh. I know it's probably not something you want to address, but we need to bring back the engineered rebate, the smart rebate, where lighting people make a case to the utility and say, if I remove all these fixtures, this is the energy savings. Instead, that's a fixture, that gets this rebate, that's a tube, that gets this rebate. And you equalize everybody in the industry. Anybody can do that, right? I guarantee you every single person at this table and multiple people at their companies could easily break out a spreadsheet and make it a case to a utility for an engineered rebate and convince that engineer that they should pay on the actual energy savings achieved. Okay? Stop rushing everything. We don't need a 5.2 DLC QPL, okay? Chill out. All right? Not everything has to be Bluetooth wireless controls daylighted tomorrow. All right? Give us a couple years. Chill out. Relax. Ease up on the light bulb police. Okay? There's other things to worry about. Don't screw the industry up. And so that would be my thing, is everybody needs to relax, and the message from the lighting industry to the regulators and the government should be engineered rebates, darkness restoration, and keep the controls outside until where it's a simple business case managed by a city manager instead of trying to jam it everywhere. That would be my final thoughts, but I could just keep going. But that's how we go. We'll get a grip on lighting, baby. That's right. 300 episodes, son. That's right, sucker. We did it. We made it. 300 episodes. Great thanks to the folks at... Oh, sorry, what? Am I in trouble?
Did you take down Joe Rogan yet or no? You still got work to do.
You know what? I'll tell you this. One listen to get a grip on lighting. One listen to get a grip on lighting is worth a magnitude more than one listen to his show. Okay,
as far as advertising is concerned.
Yeah, he may have more listeners, but my audience is smarter and more valuable. So yeah, I did get him. But audience, sorry, my colleagues. No, seriously though, when I say that. But you know what? I get a special thanks to Keystone Technologies. That's KEY. Greg Eric, I'll come back over here. KEYSTONETECH.com. That's right, the easy folks. Keep it easy, Josh Brown.
Yeah, and he does. You know, with his exterior lights in general. We talked about the area lights at the beginning. Now doing the optic swap, having the photo cell. You have different lenses, type 3, type 4, type 5. You also have your flood fixtures. Would you put the friggin' yoke mount and the slip fitter in there for me? Thank you. That's a ticket. You're listening to people. Good job, Keystone.
And of course, the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors, NALD.org. We're having America's Lighting Convention. That's right, Greg. America's Lighting Convention down in Dallas, Texas. And we're going to take a tour. What's the guy's name? Jerry Jones or something? His office.
Jerry Jones.
He's going to take us.
Or
He's going to have a. Yeah, he's gonna pop a little bit of bubbly, and we're gonna toast him and all of his championships that he won or whatever happens in Dallas Cowboys land. I don't really like American football. I know you don't even call it that, but there's Canadian football too. But anyway, and so we're gonna check out that. Everyone's really excited about that, but also there's gonna be lots of education and all that at the show, and of course, all you guys out there, 300 episodes. It's all because of you. That's right, my colleagues that don't do podcasts, all the people around the world, all the guests that came on the show, all the sponsors and the support of course Keystone that's on the broadcast here today, but
Cheers
also
to you.
all those people that supported us over the years and our friends and all that. So thank you, all the ones on the other side of the camera. Bye for now.